there's definitely this convergence of things from a macro point of view that are putting an immense pressure on any type of business. And then from like a micro point of view, more like, the localized pressure that's getting put on a business from either customers, employees, investors, whatever, which is obviously, or which are being obviously affected by macro pressure. It's at a really interesting time. And, there's a few things that are going to create a massive shift in how businesses have to think about generating revenue and retaining that revenue. Probably the biggest one that we're all talking about right now is AI, but there's a lot of other things too. Like we're still feeling COVID right now
Yeah.
in a big way because of interest rates and other economic factors and conditions. So yeah, it's a different decade, that's for sure. From 2010 to 2020, I'd say it was a pretty stable decade, right? I mean, there really wasn't many crazy world events, right? I mean, I guess you
Yeah.
could
And
say
now it feels like a decade's every 6 months.
it's yeah, it's they're changing faster, right? I'm just thinking back 2010 to 2020, depending on which way you look at it. I guess the biggest one was maybe like the election of Trump, but like I don't know. I mean, there wasn't like a pandemic, there wasn't a financial crisis, there was a time of kind of interest rates were ticking up, but then they went back down. I don't know. It's strange.
So when you say AI is one of these macro influencers, is there anything you see that's bigger than AI? Like I'm on LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn, we're on social networks, at least in our tribe of techies and SaaS people and all that. It seems like every post is AI, 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 AI. How much of that's a real thing? How much of that is let's just get our name out there and put AI on it? And how do you see all that impacting just human relationships, I guess? And why does that impact community as well?
I think it's definitely the flavor of the day. So it's gonna calm down, just like how metaverse was the flavor of the day for a little bit, just how like crypto was, blockchain was, right? And all these things will have major outsized impacts probably at some point in the future. Um, I think I mean, the thing that really drives AI is data. So I actually look at some interesting things recently around the global creation of data is hockey sticking, like just like and digital data. This is digital data. So more and more data is getting put into the cloud, um, and that of course is what AI needs to be
Yep.
more powerful, more accurate. Just overall, you could say better, right? So what's the input to AI? It's data, it's these models, it's these algorithms. So there's that. I also think though, like privacy and laws and how people decide to address some of these things might accelerate faster than they had in the past, right? You think about like how long it's taken governments to act on things. It's taken a long time. I don't think governments will wait as long in the future because everything else is accelerating. So there still will be probably a lag, but it's not going to be as great of a lag. But for right now, the flavor of the month, flavor of the day is definitely AI.
Yep. So when you say it's going to change really quick and globally, do you think it's going to change quickly because it is globally? Like there is almost like this AI kind of technology arms race, right? You're talking about instant translation, connecting people faster, the data inputs, the collection. Are you talking about just back end data, like Zoom? But we're using that to record today. They've recently updated their terms of service, I believe. I'm not sure if that's related to AI, but I do believe there is a privacy clause in there somewhere. And I just assume maybe this has to do with AI. I have no idea. But do you overall feel that how is it going to impact people? Are we going to get credit for our content? Is it going to be just sucked down and like used by these AI aggregators? And again, like our social media network, like Facebook, they take all your data and they sell it. Is that how AI is going to be, or do you think we're going to get a little bit more credit? Is there new technology around that people who are creating content, are they going to be protected, or it's just unknown right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I studied kind of in the inverse. Like one thing that is not going to grow, um, and it's actually going to probably decelerate in the next 70 years. It's going to grow a little bit, but then decelerate. Is human population growth globally.
Yep.
So it's gone from like 2 billion to like 8 billion in about 75 years, I think, if I
Yes.
can remember this correctly. And then in the next 75 years, it's going to only grow maybe 2 billion and then potentially start to drop.
Yep.
So that tells me, wait a minute, where am I going to put my bets, right? Like, I think your network and ownership is going to become much more important in the
Yep.
future. So like if you just have a full-time job and you don't have something that you can defensively own in some fashion, I don't know. I think that's going to shift. Right? I think there's going to be this bringing together of what AI helps you do both at the business level, but also at the consumer level, because then you're going to have AIs fighting with one another. Like the AI is going to block this AI from getting in
Right.
front of your face. And then who do you go to? It becomes almost like it's just like self-fulfilling thing. It's like, well, you go to the person then, because you set the relationship, the trust building process is in place. The person is going to be probably the thing you turn to more. So I think, I always say the tide goes out, the tide comes in, which is 100% true. AI will necessitate some big changes from a work and skill set standpoint, and just create new things that we can't imagine now. But it also, I think, will put a lot more focus back on your network and having a direct ownership of something that you can defend, because the AI either has validated that you own this thing through blockchain technology and AI, or because there's some new AI out there that we don't even know that's going to be like the digital version of yourself. Like
Yep.
I don't like.
Yeah, we can, is this real right now? We don't know, right? Is this Mark and Joe
Well, yeah,
talking?
you
No,
have
of
to
course
craft
we
it up
know
like
it's
Elon
us.
Musk
But
style, but
but there
yeah.
are things that you're going to need, not too far away, maybe 5 years from now. You just don't know. You're not going to know. But you mentioned blockchain. To a novice, how does that relate? Is that just because it's the structure of the data on the blockchain? Just tell someone who might not know as much as blockchain as you how blockchain and AI integrate in terms of possibly intellectual rights or just knowing where the source of truth might be.
Well, it's just decentralized, validation, if you will,
Yep.
of ownership of something, right? So like, there's not one entity or person saying this is the truth. It's a consensus model, right? Like it's like, hey, this is validated by um proof of work, like proof of stake, right? Like, and it's like, hey, this transaction happened on this date, and it wasn't one entity or person that validated that this thing happened, right? So like ownership rights, other things, right? And there's a ledger, if you will, a history of all these things. You go back forever how long and say, like, on this day, on this time, this thing happened between these two things with this group of people, and it's etched in digital stone, if you will,
Yep.
right?